Waisatale. That's one way of saying hello in Old English. You might have known that already, or maybe you didn't, but either way, if you're interested in learning more, you're in the right place. Old English is a really cool language from a variety of dimensions, but it's not the easiest language to learn, and if you've always been interested but have never had a good idea of where to start, this video is for you. Before we start talking about Old English, though, it's important in learning any language to understand what your goals are. Why do you want to learn Old English? Is it because you've heard that the poem Beowulf is really good and you want to read it? That is true. Are you interested in Old English poetry in general? The Old English legendary material? Do you want to understand why Tolkien was so obsessed with it? Or are you interested in early medieval philosophy per se? Early medieval military history? Early medieval fantasy about the ends of the world? Early medieval theology or spirituality? Are you more interested in sound changes? Are you interested in learning how the modern English language came to be? Maybe you just want to be able to talk in Old English. First off, be sure to let me know in the comments below what your answer is. I love hearing why people want to get into Old English. It's super important to realize, however, that the answer to this question of how do you learn Old English will and ought to influence the way that you learn Old English and the materials that you use. The big divider is this question. Are you interested in reading Old English texts? If the answer is no, that's fine, but it will affect my advice to you. I'm going to assume that if you're one of these people who maybe aren't so much interested in actually reading Old English texts, that your motivation is more so understanding sound changes and syntax and what happened to make the language of English that we speak today. If that sounds like you, the first place to start is The Development of Old English by Don Ringe and Ann Taylor. That's this book right here. I'll probably also have it on the screen too. That book will occupy you for quite a while. From there, you can move either backwards to studying Proto-Germanic or forwards to studying Middle English. But everything you could possibly want to know about the development of Old English, the language Old English specifically, is in that book. I also recommend joining the Old English Discord server, where you'll be able to find a lot of people, including me, with similar interests. Their link will be in the description. Don't forget as well that whenever you want to learn the etymology of an English word, or most Proto-Indo-European descended words in general, you can just look it up on Wiktionary, and it'll usually be listed, hopefully correctly. Let's say you're interested in reading Old English texts, though. Great, I am too. There's really only one way to get good at reading a language, and that is to learn the language. This does not mean being able to translate it line by line, nor does it mean memorizing a few words and phrases here and there. It means being able to read something and understand it in your head the same way that you would with your own native language. We do this as language learners primarily through maximizing what's called comprehensible input. You may have one or two objections to this. The first, perhaps, is something like, "But Graham, Old English is a dead language. Learning it conversationally is useless. Conversing in a dead language is nothing more than a party trick." Well, it is not a very good party trick. It is actually guaranteed to make everyone think you are very strange. Trust me, I have tried it. That said, I'll share with you a quick story. A few months into my own journey of speaking Old English, my friend and I had made some decent progress, but we were still very immersed in the basic aspects of the language, that is, hello, goodbye, how are you, etc. A common thing that we'd say is, "This me arvave," that is, "this is difficult for me." Or we'd say things like, "Ich mij radon arvoslice," that is, "I can read, but kind of painfully, difficultly." Around this time, I went back and reread part of the beginning of Beowulf, where the monster Grendel is described to have arvoslice thrage thode. That is, he painfully suffered for a long time. And it clicked for me. I actually knew what arvoslice meant. I had used that word in a real conversation several times to convey real emotions of my own, and therefore I could actually understand in my head the emotion that the poet was describing Grendel to feel, without any sort of intermediary language or translation. It was really an awesome feeling to actually be able to understand that word, and something that now I happily experience on a pretty regular basis while reading Old English. This would all be impossible if I hadn't acquired that kind of level of conversational fluency that I'm at today. Another objection might be, "Well, Graham, that's all well and good, but how am I supposed to learn a dead language to conversational fluency? Where do I even start?" Well, where you start is easy. There are a few resources I'll direct you to off the bat. One is my own YouTube channel. I have a series of 9 videos that will take you from ground zero to being able to understand some very basic Old English conversation. I'd also check out the book Oswald Bera, which is a tiered reader aimed at brand new learners. And then the Old English Discord server linked below is a great place to take what you learn and put it into practice. Try going into the Old English channel and having a conversation with someone. You might be shocked at how much you can understand just from a few videos and chapters. Once you get this far, it's time to start thinking about what texts you're actually interested in reading. This is Peter Baker's online anthology of Old English beginners texts, and I highly recommend looking at these, finding one that you find most interesting, and trying to read it. The benefit of using a page like this is that every word is glossed, which really helps with speed of input. Again, your goal is not to translate these texts, it's to read them and to understand them. The less time you spend looking at modern English, the better. The more time you spend reading these texts, the easier they will get, and that will free you to start attempting more challenging texts. The Dumbarton Oaks Medieval Library publishes facing page translations, which are excellent intermediary learning tools. You read a bit of Old English, you read the translation to see what it means, and then you read the Old English again, finding that this time around you understand it a lot better. All the while, you should be trying as hard as you can to conversate in Old English and acquire that kind of internal understanding that I was talking about. There's no better place to do this than on the Old English Discord server. I spent about a year there where I didn't say a single word of modern English on that server. Every conversation that I had was in Old English, and it helped my conversational fluency immensely. People there are generally very happy to talk about random things in Old English. They're very happy to help beginners get through a conversation. I really can't recommend it enough. One last point to make is about poetry. So Old English poetry is not as challenging, in my opinion, as, say, Latin poetry, but it's not easy for beginners. And if that's what you're interested in, I recommend trying to read other things like the Old English Chronicle first, which often uses a lot of martial and poetic vocabulary. Alfric's Lives of Saints are also a good stepping stone in this regard. I hope you found this video helpful. Always feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments, and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. I wish you good luck on your journey, and I can't wait for you to be speaking fluent Old English in no time. Farathye Yesunde.